rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad. After her there ain't no coming back. Wanna take a run at that. I think she's feeling me, turn it up a few degrees. My imagination of her body gets the best of me. Oh gosh, she's such a tease, bitten lips, bruised knees. I'm addicted to her, need her touching me. Cause she got a bad little waist, and we tearing down this place. Off the liquor that we chase, Casamigos to the face. Baby, I don't need no space, coming closer for a taste. And I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on that tight frame. All game, no shame, baby came here to play. I feel like an addict cause she's sex, drugs, cocaine. Got a fine little body and her mind's kinda naughty. They say that once you taste it, you cannot replace it. She could get you high, all the dopamine inside triggers fast once she's naked. Her body's a creation. They say the devil made her for his entertainment, but even he couldn't learn how to contain it. Her high heels make a damn good statement. There is no replacement, a body by Satan. Cause she got a bad little waist, and we tearing down this place. Off the liquor that we chase, Casamigos to the face. Baby, I don't need no space, coming closer for a taste. And I'll show you how I make everything just fade away. Cause she's like sex, drugs, cocaine, body so insane. Jealous of the clothing that she wears up on a tight frame. All game, no shame, baby came here to play. I feel like an addict cause she's sex, drugs, cocaine.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, doing no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious, I'ma go cause something, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's lane, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame, yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up.
Only God wants you, better go live it up.
live it up, cash in the bag, stadium packed, baby I'm back, baby I'm back. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed, born a rock star in this lifetime, live it up on the attack, baby I'm back. I just wanna get caught up in this life, I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap, only got one, so you better go, live it up, cash in the bag, stadium packed, baby I'm back, baby I'm back. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed, born a rock star in this lifetime, live it up on the attack, baby I'm back. I just wanna get caught up in this life, I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap, only got one, so you better go, live it up, cash in the bag, stadium packed, baby I'm back, baby I'm back.
So I took a little time this week. I took a couple days and I wanted to get caught up on a little bit of stuff. And I'll show you what all I got done if you didn't really see. So I went ahead and done a bunch of body work on the roof area where I shaved the drip rail, all the rusted drip rail, and made the new and all that. I still need to go back in. It still needs to be sanded a little bit more, and then a good thin skim coat of Bondo. I put a pretty good coat of fiberglass, and then I sanded that down really good, and then I put a pretty good coat of Bondo, and I sanded that down really good. I done it thicker, on the thicker side when I put it on there, so I could sand it down and hopefully get it a lot smoother and not have to go back several times and do several thin coats. But everything was sanded down really smooth. It's not that bad. There's just a couple areas that need to be touched up and stuff. I think it turned out great. I need to come in and do a little bit of work around the drip rails. I need to do a little more detail sanding and stuff like that. Then I went ahead and I fiberglassed and bondoed and body worked the fender, the eyebrow over the lights on the fenders, and the front lip of the hood. I figured I'd go ahead and get that done. I think it turned out great. And then I went ahead and shaved that vent area there and body worked it, got it smoothed out, fiberglass, bondoed. And the way I've done it is I've done it in the process of if anything that I need to go back and do a thin coat of Bondo before I start actual body work for a paint job. Everything should be to the point of it just needs a skim coat and then some sanding. That's my hopes. There shouldn't be anything massive to deal with or anything like that. This spot right here is still a little funky. You can see there's some holes that I need to deal with, but there's kind of a low spot right there. So I don't know if the curvature on that piece that I put in there was just off or what, but there's a low spot right there. But I'll take care of that later on. And then I went ahead and done some body work on this hood. The primer's not the greatest. I ran low on primer. I need to get some more primer and give it another good coat. I ran out of gray and all I had was some self-etching. So I went ahead and shot the stuff that I needed to shoot down and primer. I went ahead and used the self-etching primer on it. But I'm gonna get some and I'm gonna sand this down and redo it all. I just wanted to get something on it so it wasn't bare Bondo and bare metal. Some of the hood was still, a good bit of the hood was still bare metal. I come back in here, you can see where I put Bondo and the low spots. I tried my hardest to get those dents out, but this metal, I guess over the years, it's just weak. The hood's not exactly straight. If you look at the cowl line, I tried to get it as straight as I can, but it's just bowed and tweaked and warped and everything. And the center of this hood, it's in certain spots it's pretty flexible, so it's not perfect. Those spots may be a little bit thicker than what I like, but if it cracks later on or anything, I'll deal with it later on. I'm not sure it's even going to stay that way yet, but I wanted to get something back over that so it wasn't just a big bare metal spot. So that's what I did. I went around any spots that I seen that needed to be dealt with on the hood. I went ahead and dealt with. There was a spot there. There's still a couple small spots. Like I think there's a low spot right here, and there was a spot close to one of these others that I didn't realize was there until I started sanding a lot better. But I'm not going for perfect. Anything that kind of stood out, I went ahead and got. I think that's it. I know this video kind of started out a little different, but I wanted to just get some of this stuff dealt with. And as far as the Bondo and fiberglass and doing a little bit of body work and stuff, that's all kind of, the same concept no matter what it is. If you've seen it once, you've seen it twice. So I filmed a little, here and there. You've seen me doing some fiberglass and doing some Bondo and doing some sanding and this and that. But I just wanted to go ahead and get some of that dealt with. I think the roof area looks a lot better being cleaned up with some primer on it. I wasn't really worried about that vent. Like, it didn't bother me that it was there, but it served no purpose. Pretty much, they didn't serve any purpose. A little bit of fresh air into the cab, but I pondered on it and figured, why not? We're pretty much just farting around with this thing, but I think it's taking shape. It's looking better, and something that I think I'm gonna do. I've been doing a little bit of sketch drawing here and there of the truck since I got it. Just a little bit of idea of the route that I want to go, and I change it as I go. But something that I think I'm going to work on is I think I'm going to change up this front splash roll pan. I'm thinking of either doing some little vents, air vents, or cutting the center down a little more and giving it more of a mouth in the middle, or I don't know, something. I'm thinking about changing that up, and then I've been playing around with the idea of maybe doing maybe cut it on the back and the top and the bottom, fold it in and make it some vents, fill in the top and the bottom, and do like 3. Do the same on the driver's side. I don't know. I'm not sure on this yet. Just I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it. Been trying to. I've also been trying to figure out if I'm going to use this factory steering column that come out of the Ranger that we use the frame from. Regardless, if I do, I will not be keeping the steering wheel. I don't plan on keeping the steering wheel. I don't necessarily want to use this steering column because it's just so big and bulky. But the only reason I'm considering using it is if I can get it to set right and I can get it to build a mount so it looks halfway decent, and get this where it mounts and everything, kind of, a panel made or whatever to kind of clean it up and close it in, I wouldn't feel so bad as long as it looked right. I don't want it to just look out of place, and it already somewhat looks out of place. But the one advantage to using this is if I go out and find a more period correct steering column, everything is going to be completely different now. So my thought is this already hooks to the steering box. I need to do some trimming on the floor to get a little bit more room and figure out exactly where that thing needs to sit. All that was already kind of mangled and cut up beforehand, so what I figure I'll do is I'll cut it a little bit more because the steering column is rubbing and hitting the firewall. So I figure I'll cut it a little bit more, get that where it, hopefully where it needs to be, and then that'll give me an idea. I can go back in and fix everything around that. I've got the boot or whatever you want to call it that mounts to the firewall for this steering column. I have it's on the steering columm, so if I could get it to set right and all that, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I've basically got everything I need already. This will have the blinker switch, and hopefully we can reuse all that. If I do that, that means in a sense I'll have to use the wiring from the Ranger, or some of it. So I'm still up in the air. I'm not quite sure exactly what I'm going to do. And then again, we're going to have to use wiring one way or another to wire everything. So I already have, I believe I kept everything wire-wise from the Ranger. So, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I know there was a couple things that was messed up for the brakes, like the ABS and all that, but this thing has that big ABS, I would assume it to be the ABS brake module that comes off, that hangs in front of the brake booster and all that. My plan is to eliminate all that. I don't care if it has ABS, it has disc brakes on the front. That was my big thing. Regardless if I would have kept the original frame or not, I would have figured out a way to do a disc brake conversion on the front, just to have the better stopping ability. So it already has disc brakes on the front. I'm fine with drum brakes on the rear. That's not going to bother me one bit. Later on down the road, if it gets to the point and we end up swapping out the diff or anything like that, dropping a new diff in, what we might consider doing something that has disc brakes on it already, and then I don't care to have disc brakes on the back. I'm not going to go out and just buy a kit specifically to have disc brakes on the rear, but if we swap out the diff and we find something that has disc brakes on it, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But my plan is to eliminate that ABS module and all that shit. We should be able to just do away with that and run just the regular brake booster. We'll probably have to do some new lines, but that shouldn't affect the brakes. We just won't have the ABS, and I'm fine with that. But I'm pretty positive that some of the plugs for the ABS module was broke. I could always replace those and fix them, but I'm not 100% concerned about it. But we'll cross that road when we get to it. I will say I did get a automatic brake pedal assembly. I didn't keep the one out of the Ranger that we kept the frame from because it was a manual, and I had no plans of making this truck manual at the beginning. I'm starting to second guess that now, just because my preference it would be a manual, but just for simple, for other people that would want to drive it, whether it be my kids or somebody else that can't drive a manual. My thought was to put it automatic and just make it easier for everybody. So I'm not sure yet, but either way, I did get a automatic brake pedal assembly. I'm gonna get that figured out and mounted. I should just have to bolt it in there. I'm not sure yet. I do need to do some looking to see like where the steering column routes and where the brakes are gonna lay and all that. If everything don't work the way it's in there now, because I didn't really plan on using this steering column whenever I mounted the brake booster. If I need to move the brake booster, it won't be that big of a deal. I know there was already a couple of those holes there where I put that brake booster. I know I don't remember if I had to cut the hole in the center completely out or if I just had to make it bigger. But I can weld a piece back up in there, fill those holes back up. That's not a big deal if we need to move that brake booster. But I need to get in there and see if the steering column and that brake pedal assembly and all that's going to line up and not be fighting for room. And then see if the brake pedal would be sitting right where it needs to be and all that. I can always change that. I can adjust the brake pedal myself, whether it be cut it and weld it or bend it or heat it up and bend it or whatever to where I need it to be. But I'm going to get in there and see what all I'm going to have to deal with that. I don't know if that'll be in this video or not. I'm not sure what else I'm going to do in this video, but I figured being that I got at a pretty good decent spot on the things that I wanted to get done, I'd go ahead and cut you on and let you know. I was just trying to get some stuff caught up, so I took a couple days and done a little bit of body work. I don't have the biggest air compressor, so I have to kind of take my time on the sanding. I can kind of go constant, but the air compressor struggles a little to stay to keep up. So I kind of pace myself. I'll do a side, and then if there's any hand sanding that I need to do, I'll do some hand sanding. I usually go over everything regardless when I'm done. Even if I'm not block sanding it, I'll go back over it by hand and sand it again regardless, and help, just to feather those edges out better. I like to be able to feel it with my hand. A lot of people are against using your hand. They'd rather use a block. I've sanded a lot of vehicles, and I've used my hand more than I've used a block. But that I just wanted to get some of that stuff done, out of the way and dealt with. So that's why it took me a little longer to do it. Is, like I was saying, my compressor, I can't just come out here and knock it out the way I'd like to. I kind of take my time on it, and give my compressor a break from time to time. I'll do a little hand sanding and stuff, but I think it's looking good. I also got this side body worked. I had fiberglass this. I just needed to do a little Bondo, sand it all down again real good, and then shoot it with primer. But I got that done also. And the only reason I hadn't finished body working this side is I wanted to do both sides at the same time. That way both of them was done, and I was still debating if I was gonna shave that vent area, and we got to talking, and we just decided it wasn't really serving us any purpose other than the aesthetic look of it, which I liked, but it is what it is. We cut it out of there, welded a piece back in. It looks good. I'm not sure about the antenna yet. I don't know if I'm going to run a factory antenna or not. I haven't messed with that hole yet. if we do run one, it's there. If we don't, I'll weld a piece in there and fill that in. I'm not quite sure what all we're going to do as far as radio wise. We have a local drive-in movie theater, 3-screen drive-in movie theater, and we enjoy going. We don't get to go as much as we would like, but we enjoy going. And I preferred it to have a AM FM radio regardless of what else it has, just because that's what they use for the sound for their movies. You tune in to radio stations, and each radio station works for each screen or whatever. They have designated radio stations, so it will have that regardless, but I'm not sure how all that's going to work out yet. But I think it's looking better. I have had the thought of, I want to go ahead and get a few things that needed to be body worked and body work done. That way, if I start getting to the point to where, like say the hood is really close, I could, if I wanted to, I could shoot it, just shoot it, sand it down and shoot it down with primer, and maybe even start getting the whole truck in primer. I don't know for sure that I am, but I know all of these areas that I've worked will have a good coat of primer put on them regardless. So, and then like this stuff, I figured, I didn't have to shoot it. I could have waited until I got some primer, or some gray primer, but all of this was still bare metal, so I wanted to put some self-etching on it, and then I also figured that that'll at least be a little bit more when we do go to body work. We'll have something to work with, and it won't just be bare metal, but everything will get another coat of primer at least. So we'll see how it goes. May end up having to do a couple coats. You never really know till you start getting to that point. I've said it numerous times, I'm not going for perfect. Anything is better than what it was when I got it. I do want to try to do some type of little video and do, from maybe where we started when I first got it. And I don't really have a lot of video footage from when I first got it. I've got some pictures, and it was in pretty rough shape. Other than the floor area, that's about all that, and the bottom of the doors. I still got to do some work on the bottom of the doors and the rockers. I do know that. I haven't forgotten about it, but I have. I keep forgetting about the rockers, but when I do the doors, I'm going to do the rockers. So, and then once I get the bottom area of the doors done, it needs inners and outers, so I'm just going to buy replacement panels because it's just going to be easier time-wise and all. When I get those done, and I do the rockers, I'm going to readdress these front cowl corners, and then the doors will pretty well be done. I need to fill in these mirror holes. I've started to do it several times and I just haven't, it's not a big deal, it's just me doing it. But the other door has a pretty good dent here, and I've gotten some of it out, but I want to get a little bit more of it out just because of this body seam right here. It'd be a lot easier if I can get it out for the most part than me trying to, either build it up with Bondo or whatever and try to kind of recreate that body line and make it match and look right. So I'm still working on that door to get that dent at the top down a little bit, and then there's, I don't know, it's like right in here, maybe there's still a little bit of a dent over there too. Once I get those out on that side, I can do it. I could do it on this side already, but I've just been putting it off on both sides because I've been working on that dent. And if I can get it out, I'll get it out. But if I can't get into it from the top or from the bottom, I just can't get to it. So I've went in from the holes and pulled, and I've gotten a bunch of it out. It looks a lot better than it did when I started, but I didn't have exactly what I've needed to get it out, but it's still a little rough. I need to try to get in behind it with something and do some tapping with a hammer, but this is still low right here to, you know, about here. So if I can get the rest of that out, and it don't look terrible unless you're looking at it, you don't really see it, but I would like to get as much of that out as I can before I start trying to body work those two little areas. But yeah, once I get the bottoms of the doors done and those mirror hole mounting holes done, I'll probably just go ahead and shoot the doors in primer as well. I still need to do quite a bit of grinding on the insides, where we relocated the door latches and the door handles and all that. I need to do quite a bit of grinding on both doors, and my plan is just the next time the doors are off of the truck, I'm gonna do what I need to do grinding wise on the inside. I didn't want to have to take the doors off, grind them down, put the doors back on, and then they'll be back off the truck later on. They'll probably be coming off when I do the floor, and I'm really hoping to get started on that here pretty soon. I've just been back and forth on what I want to work on. I've started a couple times to order the bottom sections of the doors, and I mean, I could order them and they could come in, and whenever I get to it, I could get to it. But I'm still trying to figure out an engine and transmission setup that I want to use, and I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to use. It'd probably just be when I find the right deal, but I am looking. So hopefully here soon, we'll be starting to deal with that. And once the engine and transmission's in it, or we have what we're going to use, I'm going to start on the floor regardless. That's the only reason I haven't already. But yeah, I'm gonna do a little more thinking on this and what I want to do on this front, just because, just to change up the look of the truck a little bit. I don't know. I do need to do some more work on the way the front clip is mounted. I actually think the front nose of the front clip needs to come down a little bit. I feel like it's a little too high, and that may be why my fender won't sit right over here. I cannot get this fender to come out and stay where it needs to be. Every time I do, which I haven't got it completely mounted and bolted down like it needs to be in the back either, but it's just been a headache to get this hood lined up. This side sits back too, but I can get it to line up. I can get it to come out and sit where it needs to sit. So I don't know if that fender's just tweaked more over the years. I don't really remember which one was in worse shape when I got the truck, but I believe it was this one. But anyways, there's still a lot of small things we need to deal with along the way. I need to adjust doors again to work on that front gap some. I'm not worried about that right now. I'll worry about it later. I do need to work on this back wall. I need to finish body working where I've done the cab corners, but I also need to finish that transition where it rolls under to start for the floor, where all that was cut out to be body dropped. I need to go back in there and finish that up. Not quite sure how I'm going to do it yet, but it won't look factory, but it'll be good enough to seal it up, and it'll look as best as I can get it to look. Like you know, there's no floor, none, a little bit on the sides. And I've been debating on putting the battery back under the floor. I'm not quite sure I'm going to. I've also been debating. Let me know your thoughts. I've considered this. I don't have a bead roller, so for me to do this floor and do the floor right, and it not oil can or anything later on down the roads, or me just not have to put an enormous amount of, bracing in it for it not to oil can. My thought has been, for the price of a good bead roller, I'm gonna have to get one at some point regardless, but for the price of a good bead roller, I can order, I don't know if I can order all of the floor pans, but I know I can get a good majority of them for about the same price or a little under. And I've been thinking of just buying some of the replacement floor pans and then adapting them to what I need. I don't know yet. I'm gonna have to buy some more metal before I start on the floor anyways, so that was one thought, was if I buy the floor pans, not only am I getting the metal I need, all of the structure will be there, and then I can just worry about the main supports, tying everything back together, and I'll have to I'll have to cut and modify those floor pieces, but everything would be here. So I've had that thought. I'm not quite sure exactly how I'm going to do it yet, but yeah, we will see here soon, hopefully. I'm looking and keeping my eye open for a deal on a drivetrain. So, but I'm going to stop it here, and I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do next, and then I don't know. We'll see what happens next. Okay, so I went ahead and cut those out. I cut them out on both sides. The other side I haven't messed with, but this side I went ahead and started trying to get them folded in to where I want them. I'm not quite sure that's where they're going to be. That's about on the wide side. That's about 3/4 of an inch on all three. But I'm thinking I may want to stagger them. So this one would be, I don't know how I would do it measurement wise, but I'm doing a little bit more tinkering with that and just trying to figure out how I want them to sit, if I want them to all be even or if I want them to be staggered, the back be 3/4 of an inch and this one be whatever and this one be a little less than this one. I like it. It's something different. If we decide later down the road that we don't like it, it won't be that terrible to cut it out and or cut them out and just weld it back up. So I'm gonna do some more messing around with just trying to figure out how I want those to sit, if I want them to be even or if I want them to be kind of staggered or however. And then once I get them figured out, I'm just going to go ahead. I've started cutting a couple little plates. This is just some scrap 18 or 16. I can't remember. I think it's 18 gauge. But once I get them where I want, I'm just going to go ahead and start welding these plates in. And once I get them kind of tacked in, top and bottom, all three, I may pull the fender off to finish welding them up and grind them down, and then I'll come into the back here and I'll cut. I'm probably just going to cut it at an angle, from here to here. and clean this plate up, you know, cut the access off the back. I figure it'll be a lot easier if I do it that way. It'll give me something extra. I can maybe put a magnet behind it that'll hold it or something like that, instead of messing with a little triangle piece. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna cut out some little plates that'll fit the area that I need to fill, and then whatever's left over, once I get done tacking them in and welding them up, I'll just cut it off and grind it away, and we'll make them all look uniform. I think this front one is actually tucked in a little bit farther than the other two. It needs to be pulled back on a little bit. I went a little more than 3/4 of an inch on it. I just used my seam pliers, my seaming pliers, to do that, and then I went around with just some body blocks or a hammer and dolly, and smoothed everything out as best as I could. What I did do though, whenever I was trying to bend this in, I grabbed here with a pair of channel locks just to hold this so it didn't try to flex and roll out. There's not much meat here, so I didn't want it to tear. Plus I kind of nicked it and went a little farther than I wanted to. So that's how I done it. And then I just went back around, you know, worked it smooth a little bit, which there was quite of a dent up here, and I had tried to get it out before, but right in there is where that panel bolts for the that headlight backing panel, or whatever you want to call it. That's where it bolts, so I really couldn't get in there. So once I got this opened up, it relieved some pressure, and I was able to get that knocked out. It looks a lot better than it did. But all of this will get a little skim coat of Bondo. These fenders was in really rough shape, and I don't know if you can tell it. I don't know if the camera will make it out, but there's still, like, all of this is just little dents and dings, and if I'm not mistaken, there was one big dent there when I originally got the truck. So just from me working that out, I don't have a plenishing hammer or anything. So just from me working out what I could, it's not perfect. And you know, I know there's going to end up, for the most part, being a skim coat of Bondo over everything. And in a sense, yes, it sucks. I could take my time and do it right, and use as least amount as possible, but I'm not planning to strip the truck completely to bare metal, and I know for a fact there's Bondo all in this truck, and if I don't strip it all the way down, I'm never going to find all that Bondo, and I'm not really concerned about it. I'm not going for perfect, not going for a show truck. Anything is going to be better than what it was when I originally got it. So that's kind of what I'm going for. So with the, you know, if I do a whole paint job, more than likely I will, but for the most part, everything is going to end up with a skim coat of Bondo, just to take care of any waves, dings, dents, anything that we can take care of. We're just going to go ahead and take care of it. If we can smooth it out in the process, we're going to do that. But yeah, so I don't know how I feel about it. I like it. It's something different, but I'm not quite sure how I want those to be. I mean, they don't look terrible the way they are, but if you're on the right angle, they look pretty big. I don't know. I'm gonna mess with them and see. I may pull this middle one and this front one in a little bit and get them kind of split the differences between the two, and see what they look like then, and kind of I don't know, maybe take a picture or two and compare them, see which one I like better. Anyways, I'm gonna do some messing around with them and see what I like, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and start burning some of these in. And once I get these burned in and maybe cleaned up, I don't know if I'll get the welds ground down tonight, but I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll see how it looks when I get that done. Okay, so as you can see, I haven't done the top yet. I changed my mind. I'm gonna do that when the fender's off, because I don't want to be welding up, sitting on the floor welding up. So I'll do the top side once I get the fender off the truck. But what I ended up doing is I staggered them. I opened this one up a little bit more. This one's I opened this one up to 1 inch. This one's half an inch, or no, inch, 3/4, half. That's what I did. Just so I think the staggered look may look a little better. I don't know. Maybe. I feel like I might need to trim the front one a little bit, the back of the front one a little bit. I don't know. It's all in the angle that you see it from, but it just doesn't, I know, which I mean, it's only a half inch, but the gap just looks less from the right angle. But I like it. It's what I wanted, and it may change too whenever I actually do the top, because they may need to be pulled in some. That could be some of what's throwing it off. I don't know. But I'm gonna let this cool down the rest of the way, and then I may just go ahead and get the fender off and get the top done, and then once I have the fender off and I have the top done, I'll go ahead and grind everything down, and then I'll cut you back on and show you what it looks like once I got it done. And I'm gonna look, I haven't decided yet, but I may get some type of mesh to put in there in those openings. Just all depends, I don't know. We'll see. But let me get the fender off and get some little pieces cut for the tops, and I'll get that finished up, and we'll see what it looks like when it's done and cleaned up and ground down and all that. Okay, so I've got this side done. I haven't done anything on the driver's side yet. I figured I'd get this side done, and I'll finish that side up here probably tomorrow. But this side's done. I've got a little bit more grinding I need to do. I need to get some more roll packs and some sanding, belt sanding, sanding paper for my little belt sander, to get in there a little better and clean up some of those welds. But I think it looks pretty good. I don't think it's bad at all. So what I did end up doing was I had some of this round rod laying around, so I come in on these here, on each one I cut a piece of round rod and went in there and put it in. That way it's not just a, one thin sheet of sheet metal there. So if somebody just by chance was to run their finger down it or something like that, not gonna get cut open. I just wanted to clean that edge up a little bit. I've still got some more grinding to do, you can see, but I think they look great. I pulled the fender off of the truck and turned it upside down on my bench to do those top areas there. But when I did them, I went ahead and went in on the back side and welded some of that just to give it a little extra. Not all of it's welded on the back side, but the tops and bottoms are, as far as like the main bottom. Like this seam is welded top and bottom, just because that's the one I ground down for that edge, so I wanted it to have plenty to bite to. But yeah, I think they look great. Throwing together all the other little stuff we got done in this video, and the body work on the roof, it's looking better, I believe. So I think tomorrow I'll probably finish that side. I haven't touched that side other than just cutting it all loose. When I cut both of them at the same time, but I haven't messed with that one at all since that. So tomorrow I'll probably get caught up on that side, and I've got to go pick up some sanding paper and stuff like that to finish up doing some grinding and cleaning up some of these welds. Yeah, I think I like it. I think it looks pretty good. So I think I'm gonna call this a video and end this one here. Same concept over there. I know I didn't really show every step of this, but I was just trying to kind of get an end to this video, get it to a decent little stopping point. And I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. You know, I showed you I just cut out some little pieces that would fit in there. I haven't come in and cut the access off yet. I will whenever I take it back off to finish doing all my grinding. It's just bolted on there with 2 bolts right now, just to kind of hold it in place. But when I take it back off to finish doing all the grinding, I'm gonna flip it over and cut the excess off of those pieces that I put in there. I mean, it really was simple. I spent more time just trying to get my tape. I used the tape just to give me a general idea of how it was going to look, but I put more time into measuring everything out and trying to get, you know, it looking decent and straight or whatever, however you want to put it. I put more time into that than what I've actually got into probably welding it up. So yeah, I think it looks good. I'll get the other side caught up and get it to this point, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I want to say again, really pushing to get the 1,000 subscribers. I know we've gained a little here over the past few weeks. Appreciate everybody that subscribed. I appreciate all the comments and the likes. Hopefully we can hurry up and get to our 1,000 subscriber mark, and that'll help bring some more content to the channel. But I want to say again, thanks everybody. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.